And so are you writing and then emailing him notes? Are you meeting in person? Like how does this work when?
Both.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sometimes we would get together, and what Todd used to love when I would basically perform what I had come up with. You know, he'd sit back with his glass of wine, you know, I'd put mine down, and I would act out. I would act out these new ideas.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, you know, this is something also that when I teach classes in screenwriting or whatever, one of the things I always try to make aspiring screenwriters understand is it isn't. First of all, it's not just about, you know, watching movies. I hear a lot of people go, well, I watch a lot of movies, so I know how movies work. And it's like, well, no, you don't. Watching movies is great, and you should do that, but you got to do way more than that. And it's not just, I think it's more than just reading books about writing. I think it's much more than that, because you're dealing in a medium that it's way more than just your words. You know, you have actors who then have to say those words. So I always recommend screenwriters take an acting class. I think my background in acting, I mean, I was a theater major at college, so I did a lot of acting, a lot of stage work, and then I did the horror movies in Canada. That has helped me write dialogue, because I can tell as an actor if that's a line that I'm going to be able to say. I think that if you can understand how an actor looks at a line, it'll help you write a better line for that actor.
Can you give me some examples? I like that. Let's say it's the scene where the kid's showing up at the wedding. I'm sure you had different ways of him kind of, you know, the whole, like, if anyone here objects, I think you told me that. Yeah.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But were there other sort of ways you were planning on doing it and you acted it out and realized, yeah, no, they wouldn't say it like this. They would say it like this.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I try to assign in my head a voice for each character, right? Now, sometimes it'll be the voice of an actor that I know, right? I mean, not personally, or just, you know, I've seen movies with that actor. So like so we made Hugh Grant at one point when we were making him British, I had Hugh Grant's voice in my head. So it was a lot easier to write that dialogue, hearing it coming from his voice in here, you know. And then the acting out part of it is, I must have looked like a crazy person because there were one of the apartments that we lived in back then was on the third floor in like Toluca Lake area of this apartment building, and there was a little tiny office at the top of it, a little tiny office, and there was there was an access door to the roof, right? And back then I could stay up all night writing. I was more of a night owl back then, not anymore, not so much anymore. But I'd come up with a scene, or I'd be close to getting a scene, and it'd be 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'd go outside onto the roof, and I'd be walking around up there talking to myself, like acting out the part, and trying to come up with the dialogue that would be true to the character and not be too expositional, which is something that all of us screenwriters must avoid, and see if it worked. See if it worked just at least, you know, out loud or in my head. And that's what I would finally commit to. And sometimes the character would change voices if it wasn't working. For The Amazing Fabular, I was telling you earlier that he was, the psychic in my head as I was writing it. It was Jonathan Harris, who was Dr. Smith on Lost in Space, the old TV series, and he was very flamboyant and so forth, you know, and that was the voice in my head. But when we went to make the movie and Titus Burgess got the role, he didn't want to play it like that because he felt like that was too close to a character that he plays on The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt. So he wanted to downplay him a little more, you know. And I remember the first couple of days on set, and I was very lucky, by the way, that John Asher allowed me to be on set every day.
Oh, that's great.
And consulted with me from time to time. He always had the final word, of course, because he's the director. It's not my movie anymore; it's his. You know, but Titus did not want to play. Titus didn't want to play him the way I had written it, or at least how the voice in my head had written it. And so that took a couple of days for me to get used to. And in the end, it worked out fine. But those first couple of days, I was just like, oh, shouldn't I? Said pulled Asher aside, and it's just like shouldn't he be bigger and everything like that? And but I think it also, those first couple of days were difficult for Titus, because literally day one, that morning, the Emmy nominations were announced, and he was nominated, which means that whole day he was getting. His phone must have been just blowing up from all of his agents and his managers and his friends and his family all calling him and, you know, saying congratulations and everything like that. So I think he was a little distracted this first day or so. But you know, in the end, he gave a great performance, and I'm, you know, very, very happy that he was involved and he played the role.